Well, all right. I'm back with that John Deere, the 170 with that Kawasaki FC420V engine. And for a recap, the first video I went through the gamut and finally got a good strong spark. Before there was weak to no spark at all. And now there's a strong spark. And I went and cranked it up and it ran for about 2 minutes. And then boom, it just quit. And has been backfiring ever since. So from there I went and adjusted the valves a couple of different times, and what else, replaced the head gasket and checked the flywheel key, and everything looked good. But the way it's backfiring, it's like, man, it feels like it sounds like it's either a timing problem or a valve problem, right? And so the video's been up and I've been looking at a lot of the comments, and some of them sound pretty good and they're along the same lines of what I'm thinking. So let's get started on it. Alright, so I had a couple of comments. One guy said he just replaced the whole carburetor and it worked like a charm after that. Some guy suggested to check the fuel solenoid. And I will do that. I can hear it clicking, but that doesn't mean, you know, it might be stuck. Right? So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take the carburetor off, give it a good cleaning, check out the fuel solenoid, and I'm also going to check and make sure the fuel pump is pumping like it should. Right? So that's the first thing. Let's get started. Alright, let's take this sucker apart and take a look at it. I guess I'll do it right here, so I'll take the bowl off and I'll hook up the fuel solenoid and make sure it's not jammed up in there. Really windy out here today, so you can hear my tent just flopping around. Yeah, everything looks so clean in here, you know. So first off, ground it out here. Let's see if we can. Yeah, it's working. You can see the pin, the way it sticks in through there, but it's working like it should. that was a good one. Alright, let me show you what I'm seeing coming out of that carburetor. Well, I'm going to have to charge up the battery there, but you saw the flames coming out of the carb. Alright, so one thing I want to do, because I still think it sounds like a electrical problem or you know, a timing problem or a valve problem, whatever. But if it's electrical, and I think even one of you guys out there was saying, man, it sounds like it's electrical, and it could be. Because I'd replaced all this and replaced the igniter, and after I replaced all this stuff, well, boom, I started getting the strong spark, right? Ran for a second and then cut out. But I'm wondering, okay, did something happen with this igniter? It's hard to tell. What I want to do, let's take this off real quick. I'm going to replace it with another one. So, you know, maybe it burned up, you know, who knows? I have no idea. Doesn't smell funny, it's all sealed, but I'm going to do a quick, just a real quick test and see what the resistance is. Okay, 9.9 kilo ohms. And here's the new one. And this one's supposed to be, you know, replacing for the same engine, but it gave different reference points for, you know, which engine and all that good stuff. So I don't know if it's going to be any different. Yeah, pretty close. This is 10.11 kilo ohms. So I don't know if it's going to make any difference at all. But just out of curiosity, I'm going to replace it, because there was an entry in one of the forums, and the guy said that there was a bulletin, even a John Deere bulletin, talking about the igniter, and that it could, if it goes bad, it could screw up your timing. And I guess it's the firing. Maybe it's delayed or forwarded, or maybe it's putting out too much spark and it's not timed correctly, as say when it comes through here it fires during the compression stroke. Well, maybe it's trying to fire it all the way around, you know what I mean? So maybe it's just, you know, who knows. But that was the only entry into a forum I saw mentioning that could screw up your timing. So out of curiosity, I went ahead and got another one, and we'll see what happens. Let's see if it cranks up. I think the battery has been charged sufficiently. I'm going to take that off. Alright. Cross your fingers. Well, wasn't that something? It was trying. So this is strange. It's trying when I put it in choke, but so maybe that did seem to help though, didn't it? At least it's trying to crank. What next? What next? Yeah, so what is going on here? Is it still not? I'm going to check the fuel pump again. I have it on choke. It seems like it's really trying. Probably can't see it from there, but I'm just going to see if I want to make sure the fuel pump is flowing like it should. Well, it cranked. You can see I have the fuel hose off. So it cranked up and then quit. I'm sure it used all the gas. Man, isn't that strange? I'm going to hook it back up and see what it does. Now it won't start. So this is strange. The first time when I disconnected the fuel pump, it cranked up, and then it died. I'm sure it used up everything in the bowl, I'm assuming. Hooked it back up, won't start. Unplugged it to try to duplicate what it just did, and no go. It's not trying to start. So plenty of gas came out of there. And I'm trying to look at it to see if so I don't think it's bad gas. It's I put fresh gas into it. Alright, while it's sitting here, I'm going to keep the battery charged. So, this is strange, eh? Let's see, what are some of the other suggestions here? We've tried quite a bit here. I've tried making sure the carburetor's working fine, the fuel solenoid's fine, the fuel pump is fine. So I don't think it's a fuel delivery problem. And given it still sounds like an electrical problem or a timing problem, I put another igniter on it. And there for a second it seemed like it was almost working there. But somebody else also suggested to reverse the magneto, flip it over. That seems kind of strange. I mean, I'll try it. But it seems kind of strange given that, okay, it would have to, if the polarity is reversed, right? Because it'd have to sweep by the magnet here, then here. Maybe it needs, if you flip it, it's like it's reversing the polarity, right? But, and I'll have to see if once I flip it, I don't think I'm going to have room. This cord is not going to be long enough to reach the spark plug. But I guess what I could do, I could flip it and at least still check for spark. You know what I mean? And make sure we still have a good spark coming through on that. So let's get the spark plug off first. Alright, how am I gonna get... Let me see if I flip the igniter. See if that'll give me the extra length I need. Almost. There, it runs out. I hope it's grounded right here. We'll see. Let me check for spark real quick. Nothing so far. Just got to make sure this thing is has a good ground on it. Nah, it's not giving any spark at all when you flip that over. Oh well. Put this back on. Okay. We're back to square one. One thing that does puzzle me, I wish I could duplicate what I did when I pulled the fuel cable coming from the fuel pump, and then it cranked up for that short time again, and then poof, and then nothing. I just couldn't duplicate it. Man, what a mind blower. What I was doing over there, you can see I was playing with the throttle coming off of the governor, and when I shoved it all the way over, which it should be at the idling point, it seemed like it was trying to start. So I might go play with that a little while. Maybe it is a carburetor problem, or the linkage to the governor. Yeah, so here's what I was playing with. Of course, there's the choke, and there's the link to the governor, and all the way over here should be idling, right? And then there I have it on full throttle. You can see how it's pulling it this way. But when I put it all the way down to idle, there's a whole lot of room for it to move. Maybe I need to check the adjustment on the governor here and make sure that it is correct. Well, the governor is adjusted. I do believe it is working properly. So maybe it is something with the carburetor here. I might have to take the carburetor back off. Alright, you can see I took the carburetor back off. Seemed like it was working fine, but when I was playing around with the governor and I set the governor, it seemed like it was always within this range, right here on the throttle, moving back and forth. But when I physically move this more towards the idle, you can see the set screw here. When it was closer to that, oh, it started to crank up at a low RPM. And when I'd let go of it, of course, it'd just whop and then die. So, is it something with the carburetor? Just to make sure, I'm just going to go ahead and take this apart, put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Maybe that'll get something that that I'm overlooking. Alright, I got it going in there, but might take a few times. It takes forever for it to heat up. Plus, I think the thing is starting to give out. I might have to work on this ultrasonic cleaner again. But we'll see. Maybe I'll get a different one. I've had this one for about 3 years. It does okay. But if it keeps giving out, then it's time for a new one. Alright. Everything looks bright and shiny. Put all this together and see what it does, if it helps any at all. Alright, everything's looking good. Let's get all this put together. Oh, it goes in this way, don't it? Alright, everything's on. Let's see what it does when we try to crank it again. Tried. So it's the weirdest thing when I'm sitting there trying to crank it. I had the choke on. It seemed like it tried to crank. I let off of it and it would die. I'm going to check and see if we still have good strong spark. But when you look at that, when I took the spark plug off, I mean, it's definitely wet. There's plenty of gas in there. It might be too much gas. maybe it's flooding itself out, you know what I mean? It started to crank after I cleaned everything out and everything was bone dry. I put the choke on, it cranked and then died. So maybe there's too much gas getting to it, you know what I mean? But in the meantime, I want to make certain that we still have good spark. Uh-oh, what happened? I am not seeing any spark. Let me clean all this off and see if that'll help. So out of curiosity, I'm going to try this other plug. It's an NGK, it's an older one. This is a BPR6 ES, and these were BPR5s. Yeah, that seems to have a little more spark. I had tried that before. But it's worth a shot, right? We'll see if this one gets flooded in there too. Because this one, I was checking it, seemed like it was having a good strong spark and then it would die off and then gone. Alright? I don't know what it was doing. But maybe that's the problem. It's trying to start, has spark, and then the spark died off and it just shut the engine down, right? I'm going to try this other plug. I'm going to do the same thing. If it tries to start and then dies off, then I'm going to take a look at the plug and check it again, see how wet it is, and then check it again and see how long the spark will last, you know, while it's cranking. If that's the problem, then it's an electrical problem still, where it's only giving a strong spark for a limited amount of time. But let's see. See, there it goes. Now it's dying off. So I'm going to let it run for a little while. You see it's blowing all the smoke out of off the muffler where I spilled oil on it. And so what I did, so I don't know if it's a combination of both or whatever, but I took the carburetor off, put it through the ultrasonic cleaner, put it back on, but I was still having problems. I switched over to an older spark plug, a used one. I keep a stash of them, you know, knowing that it's, well, in a pinch, you know, it might come in handy. Well, I put the BPR6 on it, and I had a brand new BPR5, that's what it calls for. But it looks like it's working. You know, I noticed when I was checking the spark on the BPR5s, and that's a brand new plug, but when I was checking it, it seemed like it was having a weak spark. Then I cleaned it off, grounded it again. It was a strong spark, and then it died off. So then I switched over to this other plug, the BPR6E or whatever it is, and so far it's running pretty good. I'm waiting to see if it dies off. Then I will check the plug-in again and check the spark and see if it's long-lasting or if it dies off again. But it looks like it's running pretty good right now. I'm going to run it for a little while and I'll check back in. Alright, well, it's been idling for quite a long time. There is some smoke still coming out of the muffler. Looked like it was more white smoke. But I'm going to try to crank it again. Put on the choke. Well, ain't that something? So could that have been the problem the whole time? A bad spark plug or the wrong spark plug? But I think it called out for the BPR5. That BPR5E. I have a BPR6E in there now. An old one, and it's working. Wow. So could that have been it? I mean, it wasn't making any sense to me. I've been thinking it over while I put everything back together. And all I did this time, I checked everything, took the carburetor off and put it through the ultrasound, the ultrasonic cleaner, put it back on, and it tried to crank, then died. Then when I checked the spark plug, it was a BPR5E. First, it wasn't showing any spark. I gave it a good cleaning, and then poof, it gave a spark, and then it died off. I was like, oh shit, am I having more electrical problems here? And just out of curiosity, I took the old, I found an older spark plug. It's been used, but it's a BPR6E, not a 5E. But I took the older spark plug, and I keep a stash of those. I mean, this spark plug looked okay. I forget where I took it off of. It was definitely used, but it looked okay. I put it on there, and poof! I mean, it's running great right now. And what gets me is, I guess it was on the first video. Was it the first one when I, was checking everything for spark and finally got it going? I had checked 3 different spark plugs to no avail, but I think I checked that, I used that one, the BPR6E, before I had gotten the replacement coil and igniter, and then it started making spark. So I think I checked it before that time frame. So I guess timing's everything. I guess that's the fix. I'm going to say, well, I think that was the fix, plus probably cleaning the carburetor, the ultrasonic cleaner. It looked good before I even put it in there, but now it's for sure clean, right? But I think it was that spark plug. That was the main deal. Man, that was a mind blower, wasn't it? Holy cow. But now that I've gone through all this, you think about it, it's like, man, this thing is running great. And you can see the engine was in great shape. I've got new ignition stuff on there, got a good clean spark. Carburetor's clean, the valves are good, I took a new head gasket, I mean, everything on there. And the funny thing, I'm thinking, well, I think I'm going to have to keep it now after all that work, because I really like it. It's a nice old tractor, and but I think it's the ghost in the machine. Now she knows that I'm going to keep her. She's going to run. If I turn around and say I'm going to sell her, she's going to die on me. I'm going to have to work on it. So I should call her Christine after that movie. What is it? The Stephen King movie. But anyway, so I guess that's it, man. Thanks for hanging in there. That was a mind blower, wasn't it? But Yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch for my next video.